Hello, and this is basically just a proof of concept, as kind of like the title states, for a replacement to Redpower 2 frames. So let's get right into it. And then after I've shown this, I'll go into a little bit more in detail how it actually works. But basically, these two right here using Calclavia's modular force field system, so MFFS, is basically how the entire thing works. So, kind of default before, one engine moves the other one, and the other engine moves everything else. Just like before, same system as before with Redpower 2 in a sense of how the concept actually works, except for the fact that these actually have a power system. Not just Bluetricity have power, but I mean a little bit more draining of a power system. But this also allows for a much larger area of effect. So this right here doesn't actually take too much power. If you right click and actually, wait 1 second, I'll right click inside of one of these as soon as it moves there. You'll see, well, actually I'm having this go as a 16 by 16 by 16. So if you, actually, that's a little larger, 16 by 16 by 16. But if you haven't seen Calclavia's modular force field system, I would suggest going to their wiki and watching the videos. I'll put a link in the description to the actual wiki page for this, because basically, the way the force manipulator works, it's the force field projector. Just it's automatically inverted for the entire selection area, and from there, that's kind of the basic gist of it. It gets a little bit more complex than that, but if you understand the basics how the force field projector works, this becomes much more simple in a sense. But basically, I have loaded a 32 by 32 since I'm going 16 in both directions. Actually, now to think about that, that's actually 33 by 33 since you have the center block. So, and then it goes 5 up, 5 down. So, and this is using 89 kilojoules per every time it moves. So, one move, we'll notice 89 kilojoules. And I moved that out of order, and now the thing's all confused, or going to be all confused. So, well, I just kind of broke it since I hit those in the wrong order. But 89 kilojoules, if you look at a cohesion driver running Lapis, and that does 3.9 a second. So if you think about that, it's about 30 seconds per move per one cohesion driver, if you only have one. I'm using a liquid. Fortron's actually a liquid. I don't know how many people actually know that. So you can actually liquid tesseract it around, and I can have a much more powerful system pumping it out. So makes a really easy power system. 2 blocks for power, 2 blocks to move, and that's all it is for that. So kind of same idea of Redpower 2 frames. Well, can it be used for frame quarry? And the answer is yes. And here's kind of a basic concept of that. Now the one difference between this system and Redpower 2 frames is the fact that computers are reset when they're moved. So unlike Redpower 2, the computer it just paused its code while it was moving. These actually reboot them. And as you notice, I actually rebooted the turtle there. So the turtle actually in its startup has a it's actually pulling from over there. The turtle in its startup has a sleep timer, and then it tells it to move. So that's basically how that works in that sense. So this will just keep on going. You can see this isn't a very large setup, but with the way this works, literally the amount of power you can give it is the amount of size you can do. So if I have larger power, I can do larger, or I can just have a longer delay. Since it uses the power instantly, it's not a drained charge for it. So as long as I get that power in the time it takes for recharging, I can do a much larger system. So I could have my one measly cohesion driver powering a system moving a few thousand blocks, but well, I'll have to wait 10 to 20 minutes kind of idea between the two. So that's basically that. So now I'm going to go a little bit more into how I actually did all this. It's pretty simple, and the basic gist of actually how it's set up. So as soon as this finishes moving, I'm going to turn off the lever, and there we go. Alright, so this is the basic engine setup, which I didn't mean to actually have on when I started the video. And like I was saying before, some power system. So these 2 blocks right here are not required, but in some sense are required. So you need some kind of way to power these 2 force manipulators. If you really wanted to, you could actually throw some liquid tesseracts on top of them like that, or in this case, that may actually be a better setup since that would be in there longer, and just have it do that way. The nice part about doing with the force capacitor, or Fortron, I keep on saying force, my mistake, Fortron capacitor, is that it will constantly go through. no matter where these are at, as long as they're within 15 blocks and on the same frequency. Yep, should change that to drain. That's just basically so it makes sure it outputs faster. It will go to these two, and then from these two, the way this I have the instrument wires hooked up, it's kind of the same way as with Redpower 2. There's a million different ways to do it, but just kind of the simple way I figured out to do it is whichever direction you're going, you're gonna have these two. Well, basically, this lever right here needs to be, it either can be on the, it could be here, but basically the lever, when it's sitting in a straight line state, needs to be next to the one that's just moving the other engine. And where I'm standing as a force manipulator as the engine, if we're thinking about this like as a moving vehicle kind of state. So basically all this one needs is some kind of module in the center. Doesn't really exactly matter what type, because you're only going to have it select one block anyways. And I have a translation module from here to its right. As you notice in each one of these, that you can see right here, it says I'm moving west, I'm moving west. And as a quick note, because I didn't find this in any tutorials, if you want to turn these around without breaking them, shift right click changes the direction. So I'm going to shift right click a few more times till get back to west. Yep, now they're both on west again. So now these two are on west. And just to make sure I'm actually getting, I'm going to change this to redstone dust, which basically states it's only going to show me what it can actually move, which is there. The redstone block actually shows everything in its move, where that it can move in its current select, or not that it can move, including air blocks in its current selection, which on that one doesn't mean much since it's one block, but on this block will mean much more. As you'll see, 3, 2, yep, 1, there we go. As you see, it's moving all these blocks, and it's including air blocks it's showing. So this is really just the entire force field, while if I do redstone dust, it's just going to show that, hey, it's only going to move these 4 blocks. And it doesn't show this one currently because I'm actually going to move it here in a second, and it's going to move one back, as you notice. So I'm going to turn both of these off. Here we go. So turning this on, and since force manipulators operate on a redstone pulse, the redstone signal has turned off and then back on. And by moving this here, it technically turns the system. This thing technically says it's no longer receiving redstone, and as soon as it stops moving, hey, it's like, hey, I have a redstone signal again, so it moves again. And by the way, that you're seeing is actually the fortron transferring between the capacitors, which it's really not supposed to be, since this thing only has a 15 block range, and well, that's definitely more than 15 blocks. So just ignore those for right now. But yeah, but that's basically just how it works. There's the engine, and voila. And I'm going to, as soon as it comes here, I'm going to stop it again. Now, the one thing this kind of thing to remember about this, with the way I have this set up, this one on the right is actually the one that's moving everything. So this is the one where you want to put, if I want to do my huge scaling up or something like that, or just like my floating little cart thing moving over there, this is how you would do it. And in the general gist, that's really kind of how it is. From here, you can kind of take your own imaginations and go on with it. The only other thing I state with frames, you are also moved by it. So basically, if you're standing on a block, it moves with you. In this case, it's going to go right on through me. And as you notice, it placed a block inside of me, and they are kept on going. And if I stand on top of this, yeah, it just kind of moves right out from underneath my feet. And just kind of, but that's how it works. So thank you. If you have any questions, just throw in the comments. I'll answer as best I can, or if not, I'll kind of update and edit this video to kind of put it if I screw up anything. So thank you, and thanks for watching.